Welcome to the Conversion Aid Podcast, where we help software entrepreneurs to take their business to the next level. Each week, we interview proven industry experts who share their strategies and insights to help you create software that sells. Here's your host, Omer Khan.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Conversion Aid Podcast. In this episode, we talk about building a sales funnel for your SaaS product. You can be getting a ton of traffic to your website, and you may even have a great product. But if you don't have a sales or marketing funnel, then you'll never really be effective at converting all of that traffic into customers. Today, I talked to a sales funnel expert who helps us understand what exactly a sales funnel is, and then we deep dive into a step-by-step process for designing and implementing your own sales funnel. There's a lot of practical information in this episode that you could start implementing today. So I hope you'll enjoy this one. Before we get started, if you haven't joined the Conversion Aid community, now's a great time to do that. You'll get notified of new episodes right in your inbox, and it's a great way to learn from successful SaaS founders and entrepreneurs. Just go to conversionaid.com/VIP and enter your email address. All right, let's get on with the interview. All right. Today's guest is a sales funnel expert. He specializes in building strategic and automated online sales funnels that help his clients generate more revenue. He's created millions of dollars in additional profits for his clients. He's worked with some of the world's leading entrepreneurs, as well as SaaS companies like CrazyEgg and ClickTale. And in this episode, he's going to share his expertise on how you can build a better sales funnel for your SaaS business. So today I'd like to welcome Jeremy Reeves. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I appreciate having me on here.
So before we get started, tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your background and how did you get to where you are today?
Sure, that's a good question. So I started basically just writing direct response copy for people, So you guys all have copy on your websites. I essentially think of myself as like a salesman in print, So instead of calling people up on the phone and trying to sell them on, whatever it is, I do it with words, either in direct mail or mostly, online on your website and your emails, things like that. And even doing things like creating webinar scripts and, anything that kind of sells whatever you're selling, So I started off with that as just a copywriter. And then about 2 years into it, this is maybe around 2010 or so now, a lot of my clients were saying, Jeremy, you're like your strategy mind, your kind of knack for strategy is really impressive. It's just as good as the copy that you're writing. Why aren't you charging for that? And when your clients come to you and say, why aren't you charging for this? it's a good sign that maybe you should. So I started thinking about it, and I started charging for marketing consultation services, things like that. And I eventually realized that what I was doing, kind of the way that my mind worked, was seeing the whole picture. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I ended up with being a sales funnel expert, is because a sales funnel, and we'll get into like exactly what a sales funnel is. But a sales funnel is basically when you combine, really good strategy with really good sales copy. You know what I mean? Because I always say, if you have good strategy but your copy isn't good, you're not going to do as well as you can. You're not going to maximize your ROI. You're not going to maximize basically anything. And if you have really good copy but your overall marketing strategy is off, then again, the same thing. You might do okay, but you're never going to hit that grand slam. You know what I mean? So I kind of focus on melding those two, and we do that essentially through automated sales funnels.
Okay, good. So let's start by just explaining to the audience, and maybe folks who aren't familiar with the concept of a sales funnel, what exactly are we talking about here?
Sure. So a sales funnel is going to look a little bit different for everybody, but essentially, like if you just look at it in a really bird's eye view, basically what a sales funnel is it's an automated process that takes people from where they are. So in this, maybe they're just browsing around Facebook. Maybe they're, maybe they just saw you on some kind of article or something like this, a podcast. So they're there, they have a problem, and it's taking them from that point all the way through the process, through your sales funnel, to the point where they buy your SaaS product. And then also it's basically it's converting visitors to prospects or leads, and then converting those leads into customers, and then then there's like the back end sales funnel that converts one-time customers. And in your case, with a SaaS company, it's going to be having them stay on stay in the continuity longer. If you have like things, that like different packages, like for example, if you have like a $99 a month and then a $250 a month and then $500 a month or something like that, you can build sales funnels, taking them and trying to upsell people throughout those various levels. But essentially, it's kind of just a mix of various pages and emails and things like that takes them through that process. And it does it in an automated way. There's all kinds of crazy stuff you could do. For example, you can actually track for a SaaS company. I know one of the things you can do is if you look at how long people stay on, you'll find factors. So for example, if someone joins and they never log in, they're very much more likely to cancel within the first month or whatever, versus somebody, if you get them logged in, and this is basically like client onboarding, if you get them logged in, if you get your software integrated into their life, then they're much, much, much more likely to stay with you for a longer period of time. And you can build sequences and various automated emails that go out based on what your users are actually doing. So if they hit certain pages, if they log in, it could trigger, or if they don't log in, it could trigger a sequence that says, hey, we noticed you didn't log in. What can we do? Can we help you? Can we call you? Blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use it. But that's kind of, I hope that gives at least like a bird's eye view of what it is.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And I would say that even if somebody's listening to this now, and let's say they are getting traffic to their website through blog posts, for example, and from the blog post, people can arrive at some page which maybe lets them sign up for a free trial of a product. Mm-hmm. And then once the trial has ended, maybe they get some kind of emails through maybe some autoresponder, which kind of tries to get them to sign up for the full product. That's already a funnel. It's probably a very basic funnel, but they already have something like that in place. And hopefully what I want us to kind of explore more is, and give people insights into, is just how sophisticated a sales funnel can really get, and what are some of the things that people, maybe some of the opportunities out there that people can tap into that they're not even thinking about today.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's start by maybe when you work with a client, maybe walk me through what are the main steps that you go through from first sort of interaction with that client through to having a fully automated sales funnel up and running?
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, when we work with somebody, obviously we do a lot of, we have kind of like the coaching side of things where we're essentially working with you. Like I get on the phone with you, we do through email and stuff like that, and I kind of just like tell you, hey, okay, the next thing we should work on is this. Give you examples, templates, things like that, and then the majority of our business is actually done for you. So we're actually building the pages, building the emails, writing them, implementing in the funnel, that kind of thing. So in that kind of sense, basically what we do, the client comes on, and I talk to them first. We have like a 30-minute kind of strategy session to figure out, if they're a good fit. So if they're a good fit for our services, then we start. And the first thing that we do is, I call it like basically we do a mix research essentially. And that's kind of a mix of, we go out and we do anywhere from like a couple days to up to a week or sometimes even more, just researching the market and the product, right? Because the first thing you have to know when you're doing this or not, and by the way, this is all very, very applicable to, even if you're not planning on hiring anybody to do this for you, you should be doing this all yourself. So we'll go out, like when we're really trying to find out the pain points of the market, we're going to go through competitors' websites. we're going to go, Amazon is a big one. You can look at books and essentially just find books that are in your topic. You know what I mean? There usually is, like, for example, if you're selling some kind of email software, for example, go and look up books about email marketing. You know what I mean? And read, and you're going to look for, in the 1-star reviews, the 1 and 2-star reviews, you're going to look for things like frustrations that the marketing is going through, pain points, things that are, think of it as, when they wake up in the morning and they're getting frustrated, they're getting stressed out. What are those frustrations that you're solving with your software? So that's the first thing, is looking at, like, the frustrations, the pain points, the negative side of things. And because you want to talk to those pain points and then explain by flipping it around and talking about the benefits of your service, how you solve that problem. Because everybody coming to you, everybody that does business with you, is coming to you because they have some sort of problem. Okay, and your solution solves that problem for them. So you have to tell them, how you do that. So then you kind of switch it around, and you look at the 4 and 5-star reviews. You don't want to look at 3s, by the way. You're looking for emotional triggers. You're looking for the people that get really riled up on each side of the coin. And so you're looking for, the benefits. So think of your ideal customer. What are the problems they're having? What are they coming to you for, right? And then think of, okay, well, how do we solve that problem that's unique from our competitors? This is starting to get into like finding your USP, your unique selling proposition. What is it about your software that's different from your competitors? So you start, writing all that stuff down. You start figuring out exactly how it's going to change the life of someone that's going to use it. So, for example, I can't even think. It's content.io, I think it is, or content something or other. I forget. One of my employees got it for me, and he's using it. But it's basically like an outreach tool, and because we do a lot of outreach for various purposes and various businesses, and I got it because it saves us a lot of time, right? And that translates into money, and it saves a lot of stress, and it gets better results. So you think of all those things and how, one of the big things that I see with SaaS companies is you tend to talk a lot about the features, and that's good. You have to talk about features, but you have to translate those features into real solid benefits that it's going to give the person that's buying it. So instead of just saying, oh, it's, we have this feature, it's, well, we have this feature, which, and then you talk about how it changes that person's life, how it's better, faster, easier, whatever it is. So that's kind of the first step. And that's a big step, is just understanding the product, understanding the market. And then what we do, and at this point, before we even start that, we've already mapped out exactly what we're going to do for them. So that of course depends on budget. It depends on where they're at in their business, and all that kind of stuff. So let's just say, for example, that we're going to do, some sort of lead magnet, which a lead magnet is some sort of free giveaway to give people, to get them onto your list. And I'll go into the buyer's journey a little bit later here.
Okay, cool. So let me just stop you there for a second, because I think the lead magnet will. There was a few things that I just wanted to ask before we move on to the idea of the lead magnet. Was it Content.io or Customer.io? Is that
the what? I can't. I'm trying to think of the. I can't even remember. I know it was an outreach tool. Contentmarketer.io. That's what we just used. It's awesome, by the way. If anybody does any. Or what is it? Connector? No, Connector.io. I think it is. Or wait. I'm on their website now. So if you go to contentmarketer.io, there's if you scroll down and you click on Connector, that's what we've been using. It's awesome. If anybody does any outreach, it's I would highly recommend that. And I have no stake in that whatsoever, by the way. They're not a client or anything like that. We just started using it. It's really cool.
Okay, got it. So I'll include the links in the show notes to that. I'm not familiar with this product, but I'll check that out too.
Yeah,
cool.
That's cool.
Okay, so basically what I heard was that you spent some time doing market research, product research. You talked about Amazon as one potential place to find that information. The 1 and 2-star reviews there about books related to that topic are going to tell you about some of the pains, frustrations, and problems that your potential customers have. The 4 and 5 star reviews are going to tell you about the potential benefits or, the desired outcomes that people want from whatever solution you can offer. And I assume when you said researching competitors, you're doing the same thing. You're looking at the website, you're looking at the copy, and you're trying to figure out what are the pains that this copy is speaking to, what are the benefits it's speaking to. Is that the kind of thing you do there with competitor research?
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a mix of, you're going to find some competitors are doing really well. So you don't want to copy them, obviously, but you want to sort of look at it, look at their websites, look at everything they're doing, not to just completely copy it, because that's just kind of weird. But to look for the things that they're doing right and do that in your business. And then also look for the things that you don't like about them, and then don't do that in your business. And then also the other thing is, if you actually go through their sales funnel, so I would recommend picking maybe 3. I usually do 3. It's a good number. Go through 3 competitors and actually go through their funnel to get ideas for things that you could sell, or ways that you could position different offers. For example, like different pricing plans and pricing structures, or how they take people from maybe one version of their software to a higher level version or something like that. You'll start getting ideas that you can use, and then you kind of use those ideas again as inspiration, not to just copy, because nobody likes that.
Okay, so it would be like signing up for a trial of the product, seeing what kind of emails follow-up they send, maybe during the trial, what kind of emails or follow-up they do when you're coming to the end of your trial, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Okay, great. So other than Amazon and looking at competitor websites, are there any other sources of research that you would recommend? I mean, you don't have to list them all, but are there any others that you kind of think come to your mind? Say, that's proved to be a particularly useful one from my experience.
Yeah. So 2 other ones would be, and there's a lot. It always depends on the market, the industry, that kind of thing. But 2 of them that kind of apply to everybody is one would be doing surveys. So if you already have an audience, I do 2 main surveys. One is to people who came to your website and they didn't buy. Okay, and you say, hey, why didn't you buy? Or you could do something like, you could do a survey asking them their biggest frustration they're having, things like that. I actually just got to actually tomorrow I'm going to be looking through. We just did one for one of my clients, and we're looking through the responses to then tweak all the emails that they have to really nail down the pain points and things like that. So there's surveys, that's one, and then the other part of the surveys is buyer surveys. So you basically want to find, when you're doing surveys, you want to do it on each end of the spectrum. So one is why people didn't buy, and then the other one is you survey your buyers and you say, hey, why did you buy? Because you'll find out, a lot of times we'll find with our clients, if they're having a hard time struggling with their USP, like why are people doing business with me? When you ask your buyers, they'll tell you, and you'll find things that you're like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I was doing that or portraying that. But then you ask your competitors or your customers, and you'll find out maybe you come across a certain way, maybe you're a very transparent kind of business, or they love the personality of the business, they love your company culture, or whatever the case is, and you'll find things that you don't even see yourself because you're so close to the business.
How long of a survey do you make this? Is it like 1 or 2 questions, and are they like fairly open-ended, like why didn't you buy or why did you buy, or do you kind of do it more like multiple choice responses and you're trying to categorize these responses? What's the preferred way of doing it in your experience?
Yeah. So here, I just while you're saying that, I opened up the one that I'm going to be looking at tomorrow, the responses. So for this one, it's a company that helps their clients form entities, so like an LLC, an S corp, that kind of thing. So we did this. This is we still have to do the buyers one, but this is one to people who basically they have a 2-step process for doing business with them. So the first step, they give like their name, their first name, their last name, their email, and their phone number. And then the second step starts like actually creating, because they have like an automated kind of way of creating the entity, right? So people who there's a good percentage. It's like 60% of people who do step one, which is just the first name, last name, email, phone number. They never end up actually finishing step two. So we sent out, and they have a whole thing, like they call them and all that stuff, but I won't get into that right now. We could later if you want to. But so we sent a survey to the people who did step one, but not step two. And so we did 3 questions. They're all open-ended. They're all open-ended questions. You want to do open-ended because multiple choice, it kind of limits you to what you think they're thinking. And a lot of times that's not the case at all. There's been a lot of cases where I've done these for people and something totally like that we didn't even think happened. And it was like it was a gold mine that we found essentially. So the 3 questions are, the first one is, what's the number one frustration you've come across while trying to form an entity? The second one is, what would we need to do to show you why we're the best option for forming an entity? So it's basically, what can we do to show you we're better than our competitors? And then number 3 is, why didn't you finish forming your entity with us? And then it says, please be honest, we can take it. So as you can see, like you're getting very, they're giving you, real, like kind of solid gut responses that you can then use. And we'll use the answers. Again, I haven't gone through these specific ones yet. That's on my plate for tomorrow, actually. But we'll use the answers from these to then go back and look at the funnel and say, okay, what can we tweak throughout the funnel, not just in the emails, like I said before, but everywhere, like across the whole funnel, especially the first one, what's the number one frustration? That's the big one. If you were to only do one question, you always want to find out what's like the number one frustration people are dealing with that you can try to then solve. So those are the 3 questions. So it's usually only a couple. Between 1 to 3. I don't like going over 3 because it starts really dropping off in terms of how many people actually fill it out. And then you want open-ended questions, and you want questions that are going to elicit emotional responses. If you just say like something like, are you happy with? I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. There's so many different people listening to this. I'm trying to think of something that's applicable to everybody. Are you frustrated with whatever your email response rates or something like that? They're just putting yes or no. So you're not going to really be able to tune into their emotions. You might have some people where they're only a little bit frustrated. You might have other people where it's eating a hole in their gut. You know what I mean? So I always do open-ended questions. You get really, really good responses with that. A couple questions. And also I try not to give any incentives because then you'll get people who are doing it just to get whatever you're going to give them. So when I can, it doesn't work in every case because sometimes you might only have a list of like 100 people because I usually shoot for about 100 minimum responses. And this one actually we got, 112. So that hit our minimum. I usually shoot for like 100 to 150 and then it's good because under 100 and you're not really getting enough data, and then over 150, and the answers start to become really repetitive. So I hope that answers.
Good. So you mentioned 2 other potential sources of research, and the surveys was one. What was the other one?
This one depends on your industry. If there's like trade journals or magazines or things like that, but in a lot of your cases with SaaS, it's probably going to be blogs or podcasts. But go through, and what you want to do is look at, it doesn't necessarily have to be a competitor, but look at the main topic of the thing you solve. So going back to if you have some kind of service, SaaS product that helps with email marketing, for example, look at email marketing blogs, right? Or blogs that talk about marketing and just find the email marketing posts. So look for email marketing posts and look for the ones that are the most popular, the ones with the most comments, the most shares, and read through the comments. And you can also just look at, if you kind of just want to do like a little quickie, you can just look at the ones with the most shares. And I think is it BuzzSumo that you can do that? I'm pretty sure that's.
Yeah. So
you could go, just go to BuzzSumo, and you could kind of type in. So I'm at BuzzSumo now. I'm going to type in email marketing in their little thingy here. So this one's about, how to engage email subscribers from the moment they sign up. how I reduced my monthly email marketing expenses from 369 to 64, blah, blah, blah. So you can go through all of these and then just read those articles. And again, the same thing with Amazon. You're looking for the responses, the comments that are emotional, and you're trying to find out, what the frustrations are and then what they're looking to kind of get out of the email marketing solution. And then you just, you number one, you revise your copy on your pages and your emails, things like that, to reflect that. And then also you can come out, if it's a big enough kind of aha moment for you, you can actually then create new features to overcome. So if people are saying, I really am looking for something that helps solve problem X, yours doesn't do that, well, then you can create a service or a feature in your service that solves that problem. And then you have kind of an extra advantage, going forward.
Okay, perfect. Great. So we talked at length about research as being the first step. And so let's say we've gone through this process and we've gathered a lot of useful data, which tells us about both the pains, frustrations that our potential customers have, as well as the benefits and what are their desired outcomes. So we're building a good picture of that. So what do we do next? Earlier you mentioned something about a lead magnet.
So I have a framework, for the 3 stages. So I'm going to take you through that if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
Building a business is just like building a house. If you don't have your foundation in place, if you have cracks in your foundation, the more and the faster you scale, the faster that foundation is going to crumble under your feet. And you probably hear a lot of the time that people kind of grow themselves to oblivion. They scale so fast that they blow the company up. And that happens a lot. But what also happens is if you don't have all this in place and you try to scale, it never works because you never took the time in the beginning to find out what's going to allow you to scale. So, for example, if you don't have anything unique about what you offer, it's going to be really hard when you want to scale, because you don't have your unique selling proposition in place. You don't even know what's different about you and why people should buy from you. So every sale you get is kind of like random luck. So you should be able. You have to first have your USP. You have to know exactly who your target market is and exactly how you can help them and why your solution is different than somebody else. And that's the whole USP. We could talk for probably an entire day just about that. But just in kind of like a sentence, you want to be targeting a specific audience, okay? You want to be delivering a specific solution for them. So like what's the big solution that you give people? And then the third thing is how do you do it differently than other competitors? And that could be just look at it in terms of, do you do it faster? Do you do it cheaper? Do you do it better so you get better results? Do you do it make it easier for people? And that's a good place to start right there. There are a couple other like kind of little subcategories, but we'll be kind of going down a whole new road there. So that's the first thing is find out, really nail down your USP. The second thing is you want a lot of people, a lot of, especially in the SaaS world, there's people that think of the last time that you bought something. There's some things that you buy and it's like, hey, I just realized I need this. I'm going to go buy it. So for example, I was just watching, I'm really into cooking, right? So I love to cook. So I just saw a thing the other day and this guy on the show that I was watching was using this digital infrared thermometer where you press a button and it like puts a little red dot on your food and it tells you exactly how, like the exact temperature of the food. Which is awesome. So for that, it was like, it was $20. I saw that and I'm like, oh my God, I have to get that thing. So I went like instantly on Amazon. I searched it, boom, bought it within like 5 seconds. So that's kind of like a really short-term buying cycle, but a lot of you guys probably don't have those impulse purchases. So if you're getting people that are coming to your website and you don't, and it's kind of like either, they come to your website and they either just buy or they just leave, they're probably going to forget about you. So what you want to do is get something in place, give them something of value, and this is called the lead magnet, something of value that you give it to them for free. It's going to help them, but then it gives you a platform to be able to communicate with that person to then add value while you're telling them about your SaaS product, about why your solution is better than, other people. And it allows you to, and this is where you get in, like when they opt in for the free thing, whatever it is, it could be a cheat sheet, it could be some kind of workbook, it could be a video, it could be a webinar. A lot of times for higher priced, SaaS businesses, if they do like some sort of like a demo, it could be that. There's a lot of different things that you can do. But the main thing is, think of, what can I give to somebody for free to get them on my list that, number one, gives them value, and then number two, allows me to build a bond and a relationship with them and tell them about my SaaS product. So that's the lead magnet. And then what you want is your core offer. You want your core offer, whatever it is that you sell, kind of like your core product that you sell people. Okay, and that's pretty self-explanatory. And then I usually start with one upsell. Okay, so a lot of people are missing these actually. So you'll go and let's just say that you charge, just say it's like $49 a month, just for an example, and that's it. People buy that, they buy your core product, and then they go to a thank you page, and they're never sold anything else. That is a huge, huge mistake. To give you one example, I have, and this isn't a SaaS product, this is an information marketing product, but one of my side businesses, I own a company that we show guys how to dress better. Okay, so we basically right now we have two products. It's one of those companies. I bought it 2 years ago, and I kind of just bought it and like ramped up the sales letter. I think or sales funnel. I think I like tripled the all the metrics, and then it's kind of just been like running on the side. I don't really put that much attention into it, but we tried something recently, and so our metrics for this upsell, adding an upsell, was people buy, it's a $27 product, and that was one time. And up until, I think this is about 6 weeks ago, we had an upsell, but it didn't convert well at all. It was kind of just like thrown in there. So I said, all right, let's put like 10 minutes of thinking time into this and see if we can make it sell better. So we tested, essentially they buy the initial product, and it's $27. It's a PDF showing you how to dress better. The next page, it says, hey, thanks for your purchase, blah, blah, blah. Hey, by the way, we also have this video course that, it gives you, it's much more detailed. You can actually see we actually have the guys on video and to show you the fit, because when you're with like style, fit is like one of the biggest things. So you can actually see like, okay, here's how it's supposed to look. Here's how much fabric you should be able to pull off, that kind of thing. And normally that's $147, but on this page, it's $77. And what we did was say, hey, for the next 24 hours, you can get it for $77 and that kind of thing. And that sells for $77. And basically we sell, it's about 1 in 6 people that upsell product at $77. So the math turns out that each person that buys the initial product is now worth about 50% more money because we added that upsell. Okay, so think about that. If you don't have an upsell, think about what would happen if every time you got a new customer, they were worth 50% more than they are right now. That's the next thing, and we're still in the foundational stage. And then the last thing is the buyer sequence. So people buy your SaaS product, and you just you put together a buyer's email sequence, kind of taking them through it. And again, this is like part of the client onboarding stuff. So it's going to help increase your retention rate so that people stay with you longer, essentially. And then also you could sell if you have other products, if you're trying to upsell them to higher end products within your own business, or you could sell affiliate products. There's a lot of things you could do with that. Okay, so that's the foundational stage.
Okay, cool. So just a couple of questions about that. So I think, again, really useful stuff.
Yep.
The lead magnet, in many cases for a SaaS business, you're not going to see a lead magnet like, downloading a PDF or whatever. Actually, no, let me take that back. In many SaaS businesses, you won't see that. But one thing that I see sometimes is people offering, either you can go to the site and you can sign up for buying the product or a trial. And the free trial in itself could be considered a lead magnet, right? Because you're giving something of value, getting them onto a list, and hopefully you can continue to engage with them afterwards. Other things I've seen people doing is maybe having some kind of email course which helps them, educates people in solving a particular problem related to whatever topic or niche the SaaS product is in. So those would be examples of two types of lead magnets. The upsell is a really interesting idea because I think a lot of SaaS businesses, for any business, right? You want to pay less to acquire a customer than the value or the lifetime value you're going to get from that customer. Otherwise, if you're paying more to acquire a customer, you're going to run out of business pretty quickly. So there's definitely value in figuring out, well, how do I reduce my customer acquisition cost and how do I increase the lifetime value of my customer? But I kind of wondered, in a SaaS business, what would be an upsell? I mean, I can see it working for other types of businesses. But have you come across anything where maybe somebody in a SaaS product has some kind of upsell?
If you're selling for $49 a month, that's good that you get the $49 a month. But what happens is when you start to scale, let's just say that it's costing you $100 or $150 or something like that to acquire a new customer that you're getting for $49 a month. Okay, so let's just say it's $100 just for easy math. So you're charging $49 a month. It's costing you $100 to acquire that new customer. Well, that means you're not getting your money back. You're not breaking even until month 2. Well, what you can do is on the page, so they they click buy now or whatever it is. And on the next page, it says, hey, thanks for joining us. We can't wait to welcome you on our team and get you started and blah, blah, blah. And hey, we know that, that this is going to transform your life, the way that you do, whatever you're selling. And hey, why don't you upgrade to our yearly plan? We'll give you 3 months for free. So then you're basically getting, for every person that buys that, you're getting 9 months worth of money up front. So that'd be, what's 50 times 9? 450. Just so $450 up front. And it's good for them because they're saving essentially 25% over the year. And that also gives you excess cash flow to help you then, scale easier. So especially if you're doing paid traffic, it gives you that money, now versus waiting 9 months, which is a huge deal because a lot of people, come into cash flow issues, and that helps cash flow issues quite a bit. So the first one is taking people from monthly to a yearly program. I actually just did this. One of my clients, he was doing that and had nothing in place for taking people up to a yearly. And I did a really, really quick promotion for him and made him $75,000 in less than a week. And he did almost no work.
Wow.
It was, and his customers loved him for it because we gave him a really good deal. And he then used that. He needed like a little kind of cash infusion. I forget exactly what he was doing. But he was putting some into marketing and some into like improving the product. So that's one thing. You can also do, let's see, if you have a lot of SaaS products have different levels, so there might be, 99, 149 and 249 or something like that. You can, if it makes sense, this is probably not quite as frequently used. Depends on what the levels are. You can try to get people to go up to the bigger, the higher priced, higher priced packages. And what I would do with that one is you can say, hey, you just signed up for our bronze package. Why don't you try the silver? We're not going to charge you for it. We're going to charge you for the bronze. And then that way use the, all of the features of the silver level, but you're only paying for the bronze. And then, if you love it, then don't do anything. And starting in month 2 or whatever, we'll bump you up to the silver. If it's not for you, then we'll just leave you at bronze. So that's another idea. And then a third one, there's I worked with one client who they had software that people would use. They bought it. It was like an accounting software type of thing. I think it was like a cash flow forecasting type of deal. And so they bought it. It was a monthly subscription, and they could either use it themselves or they could hire. And this was the upsell. After they bought, we put in a sequence, and it said, "Hey, do you want some help with this? Do you want us to help you?" It was kind of like a coaching upsell. Do you want us to help you, build your cash flow models and all that kind of stuff. So those are 3 things. And again, to kind of quickly recap, number 1 was upsell from monthly to yearly. Number 2 was upsell to let's just call it a deluxe version of the software. And then number 3 is if you can figure out any kind of service to give people, whether it's, some kind of coaching or you do it for them, something like that. Somebody actually sold me on that probably, I don't know, a year and a half ago, something like that. There was a software and they're like, hey, you just bought the software, but it still takes time to do. Why don't we just do it all for you? And I was like, oh God, come on. But it made sense, so I bought that.
So those are great. And I think they're all good ideas. And the monthly to yearly one is a really good one because typically on, when you go to a pricing page, you will see pricing for monthly or annually kind of paying for a product. Mm-hmm. But if you can kind of catch people when they've made the commitment to maybe pay for the first month and give them a good enough offer where they'll switch or upgrade, then that can have a lot of value, both in terms of the amount of revenue you're generating from the customer, the cash flow, all the other things you talked about. So I really like that. Sure. The switching from tiers and the upsell is really good as well. I've seen some products where they kind of don't even ask you, right? So when you do the free trial, they default you to one of the higher end plans.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I don't think that it's kind of, they hide the fact, but I think the bet there is, well, hey, once people use this for a month and get used to some of the features which are only available in this plan, they might not want to go back to the regular plan.
Yep.
Right. So I think that's kind of another way to do it as well. Okay, good. So that's kind of foundational. Let's keep going with the other two.
The second stage is the maximization stage. So once you have your foundation in place, you have your USP, some kind of thing to get them on a prospect list, your core offer, upsell, and the buyer sequence. Then you want to kind of go back to the beginning and say, okay, we have the foundation in place. We're doing well. Now let's take it to the next level. And there are a couple things that you want to do in that stage. Number 1 is segmentation. So you can segment people by their interests. So for example, like if you're selling, I know you guys aren't, but just for an easy example, if you're selling a weight loss product, you could segment men versus women, and think of it that way. You're going to talk to a man way differently than you're going to talk to a woman if you're trying to sell them on a weight loss product, right? So think of that in terms of your business, as you're listening. You can do it by behavior. So if they visit certain pages on your websites, you could have certain retargeting ads. If they're already on your list, you could have certain emails that go out to them based on the pages that they're visiting, things like that. And you could also do it by where they're at in the buying cycle. Okay, so to give you an example of this, I'm working with a client now, and actually I'm working with this guy who he basically has clients who are doctors, like hair transplant doctors. So we're building a funnel that segments people based on where they're at in the buying cycle, because with that one, it's like a 3 to 12 month kind of buying cycle. So some people are ready. That's like, hey, I know I need a hair transplant. I know I need this specific doctor. Well, just give me the details. Let's move forward. So we have one for that. And then there's kind of the second stage where they're in kind of like a research stage. They're like, all right, well, I know I kind of need this. I'm trying to figure out who I'm going with. I'm trying to get all the details, that kind of thing. And then the third stage is people who are at the very beginning of the research. They're like, hey, my hair's starting to to kind of recede back, and I think I need something. You know what I mean? And then we have to essentially, that's the biggest group, but it's also the hardest to sell, because you have to show them hey, look, you do have a problem. It's going to get worse, and here are your options, and here's why a hair transplant is going to be the best option once you need it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like an example of the buying cycle. And you're going to, again, everybody's going to have different stages of that in this. And that's also, if you're selling email marketing software, you can have some kind of lead magnet, like a free report PDF or video or some kind of webinar, some kind of training, that talks about getting better results with email marketing. And then, so they're in the beginning of the buying cycle. And then you take them through hey, here's why email marketing is the best ROI that you can get with marketing, and then blah, blah, blah. And then, hey, by the way, here's why you should try our product. For example, if you're selling, let's go back to the email marketing example. If you have an ad on Facebook talking about why email marketing is a good thing, you're going to want to send them to a prospect sequence so that you can follow up with them. It might take them a couple months or so to wrap their head around it and then, work with you. Versus somebody who's ready to buy now. And if you're doing something like with AdWords and they're searching for your specific company name, they're probably ready to buy. So then you send them straight to your main kind of sales page or your free trial page, something like that. So that's segmentation. The next thing is more offers. It's amazing to me. Now, again, I've worked with companies everywhere from just starting to literally in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The one I'm working with now, actually, one of my clients is in the billions of dollars. It's a company that pretty much everybody listening to this has their products in their house. I'm not allowed to say the exact name just for confidentiality reasons, but most of my clients are in like the roughly 250 to like 30 million range in there. So it's amazing to me how many people, like if you sell more, if you have more things to offer, you're going to make more money. And I know that sounds it sounds kind of like, oh, well, we don't care about the customer. We just care about profit. And it's not like that. I'm not like that whatsoever. One of my business philosophies is always putting the client or customer's needs ahead of my own. So in that, like you're always be thinking of how else can we better serve our audience, because a lot of people are a little bit afraid to sell because they think they're going to be pushy. They think, they're going to sound annoying, that kind of thing. But if your product or your service actually helps the customer, then you should be doing everything in your power to make sure that they get it because you're going to help them. You know what I mean? So if you have other whatever it is, SaaS products, or if you want to come out with like an information marketing product, I've seen companies do that. If you have some kind of service, whatever you can come up with that helps your customers get that end result, easier, faster, cheaper, better. Start doing that and then just tell them about it and people will buy it.
Or this could be even if they didn't take the upsell and move to an annual plan when they signed up, it could even be something like that you're emailing them with the offer again at some point. Exactly.
Third part of this is scalability. So in this stage, at this stage, in the foundational stage, a lot of how you're going to make your revenue is, things like referrals, things like word of mouth, things like going out and being an expert. So like things like this, being on other people's podcasts, going and speaking in front of conferences, things like that, which are great. They're really good at generating revenue, but they're not that scalable because there's only one of you, and even if you have your staff going out and doing speeches and things for you, there's only one of them. Unless you want to hire this like giant army of people that goes out. So at some point, you're going to want to think about paid traffic. That's kind of like the holy grail to scaling a business is paid traffic, whether it's AdWords or Facebook or whatever you're using, postcards. So you want to make sure that at this point, you want to make sure that your business is set up to scale, both in terms of your conversions, right? So you want to make sure that you want to make sure that when people hit your page, they're converting into actual customers. And then the other thing is you just organizationally, you want to make sure that I always like to say, if you doubled your business tomorrow, can you handle that? Or would it break your business? So think of it that way. And then the last thing is hybrid marketing. A lot of people only do online marketing. And I even say like, I'm like an online marketing expert and that kind of thing. But in reality, I do a lot of work offline, right? With a lot of my clients, and it's more on the second, third stage. So for example, a couple of things you can do is, first of all, you can try postcards, and that's only going to be applicable in certain cases. So I won't go into that too much. One of the big things you can do, and I cannot recommend this highly enough. Okay, so whatever you're doing, if you're like taking a walk, stop for a second and make sure you listen to this next thing. What you want to do is get phone calls in there somewhere. Okay, so for example, that client that I was saying before, how they have the two-step and they call the people that only did step one but didn't do step two, they convert 50% more people by calling them. So if they're getting, these aren't their actual numbers, but if they were getting 100 leads a day just online, when they started adding in, calling people to help them finish their, the step one to step two, finish the transaction essentially, they boosted it from 100 to 150, a 50% increase. And then they also do the same thing. So obviously that's huge. The same thing is when people buy, they have a couple different upsells. So like you form the entity and then they call you, and there's online upsells as well. But they call you and they say, hey, you didn't buy this thing, here, let me explain that a little more. And, hey, by the way, if you don't buy this, realize that it's going to be harder for you. It's going to be actually more expensive. It's going to take you more time. And people are like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense now. So they do that. I've heard stories of people doing between 5 to 10 times more sales, upselling them, and think of like if you're going to do the monthly to yearly upsell, call people and say, hey, I just wanted to make sure you saw the thing that you can upsell, upsell. You can upsell yourself. You can upgrade from monthly to yearly, and here's why you should try it out, and blah blah blah. So the big thing there is, once you get to the stage, don't worry about it too much because it's a little complex. You have to worry about like salesmen and that kind of thing. So again, if you're like kind of not even at the foundational stage yet, do that first. You should do this all in order. You get the foundational stuff in place first, then the maximization. And so the big thing with hybrid marketing is make sure, and again, this comes back to serving your customer, okay? Make sure you're not calling them thinking in your head, how can I make money from this person? Think about, how can I help this person? Okay, really good selling. A lot of people have a bad rap with like salesmen, and that's only because a lot of bad salesmen talk like that. The salesmen who are bad are the ones, hey, do you want to buy this? Oh, you should buy this because blah blah blah, and they're like the snake oil salesman. Really, really, really good salesmen, you never ever ever feel like you're pressured because what they do is they ask you questions and they get you to lead yourself to a yes. That's what a good salesman is, So they'll ask you, hey, I'm trying to think of like an example. All right, so you could do like this with going from monthly to yearly. Hey, hey Omer, I see you just bought, product XYZ, and you didn't take the. Well, first of all, you'd start it by like, hey, I want to make sure you were able to, log in. I want to make sure everything is working properly for you. You understand it. So you start with that. Start with helping them. You're calling to help them kind of get started with everything. And then they say, oh yeah, it's all good. And then you say, hey, well, I noticed that you didn't take the yearly upgrade. Well, let me ask you this. Would you think, do you do any stocks? Do you have any money in stocks? Oh yeah, sure. I have some money in stocks. Well, what do you think is a good return in stocks? Oh, I don't know, 8, 10%, something like that. I'd be really happy with the 10%. Well, did you realize that, if you go and, you're paying it monthly, but if you pay yearly now, you're saving 25% and it's guaranteed. Don't you think that'd be really good in the stock market? And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that would be. You know what I mean? Do you see how it it's not pushy and you're kind of leading them to the conclusion. So, and that was just a really quick example off the top of my head. You'd have it all scripted out and all that kind of stuff, but.
Okay, perfect. So the framework was foundational, maximization, and scalability. We talked a little bit about that as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, great. So there's a lot of kind of moving parts to this. What are some of the tools? So if I wanted to kind of build a funnel for my SaaS product, what are some of the essential tools that I need to have in place to be able to do that?
So the first thing you're going to need is some kind of page builder, right? So you're going to have your copy, whether you hire somebody like us to write the copy for you, or you do it yourself, or whatever the case is. But you have to take that copy and then put it online, get it designed, put it on an actual page. So there's 3 of them that I use. Number 1, obviously, you can get it all custom built and that kind of thing. That's really good. It's the most expensive to do, but it's really good for page speed and things not breaking and things like that. So there's pros and cons to all this. But if you're going to use a page builder, which makes things, makes split testing really easy and you can get it done a lot faster, there's a couple of them I recommend. The first one is OptimizePress. Second one is Lead Pages. And the third one would be ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels probably isn't that applicable for a SaaS business owner. So I would probably look at OptimizePress and Lead Pages as the kind of the top 2 for that.
Okay, so OptimizePress is WordPress only, right? So that's one thing that people should kind of bear in mind. Yeah. And the point of using some kind of page builder software is basically that if you are driving traffic either from paid advertising or from a guest post you've done somewhere, you probably want to send that traffic to a landing page rather than just sending them to the homepage of your product, because you may not be as effective in converting that traffic that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can do a mix of this. So like you can actually have your main, kind of call them your core pages on your website, custom built and all that kind of thing. You can get as kind of fancy and crazy with it as you want. And then you can have, if you're doing things like that, like you have sending people to opt-in pages, things like that, you can use these tools for that, like Optimize Press or Lead Pages.
Yeah, the other one I'd give a shout out for is Thrive Themes.
I just heard about that. Yeah, I haven't checked that out, but I have been hearing about that.
Yeah, I checked those guys out, and that's pretty impressed with what they've been doing there again. But again, it's only kind of like WordPress only, so it may not be relevant for everybody, unless it's something, if you have a WordPress blog and you wanted to kind of build something out as part of that. But anyway, let's keep kind of going. So we've got page builder software, and then I guess we need some kind of email software as well, right?
Yeah, so with email, you're either going to go with an email service plus a shopping cart, and you integrate those, or you go with a CRM, which kind of combines them, right? So if you're going to go with a CRM, I typically recommend one of three. There's Infusionsoft, Entreport, and that's what I personally use, and HubSpot. Okay, so those are the three CRMs that I recommend. Again, there's a lot of them. If you're going to do the email service and then kind of integrate that with the shopping cart, you could start really, really cheaply and easily and go with something like Aweber or Constant Contact or GetResponse for the emails. And they're all in I think they're about like the $30 to $50-ish a month range, something like that, give or take. I haven't looked at them in a while. One of them that I like to use for this it's called ActiveCampaign. And what I like about ActiveCampaign, I think it's about $100 a month. You get one of the big things with CRMs is that you get if-then rules. Okay, so a really simple way to describe this is if somebody is on your prospect list and then they buy, you can set up a trigger that says, when they buy, take them off prospect list and put them on your buyer's list. Or, for example, I have on my site, if you're on my list and you're getting my emails and going through my site and all that stuff, and you visit my one page about a funnel day, and a funnel day is basically like an in-person consultation day that I do with clients. If you visit that page twice, which tells me, hey, you're interested in this, it pauses your campaigns that you're on and talks to you specifically about funnel days for a couple days. And then at the end of that, then it like kind of resumes where it was left off. So you can see the power in that. People are on a certain page and all of a sudden they're getting emails talking to them specifically about where they just were. It's kind of like if you were visiting, shopping on Amazon looking for new grill. And 10 minutes later, you get a call from Amazon talking to you about that grill that you're looking at. It's kind of freaky, but you can do it in a way that's not like, it doesn't seem like you're spying on them. So that's for the email and the shopping cart. And then for shopping cart, I like Samcart. That's one of my favorites. Samcart. That's
I mean, for most SaaS products, they're probably going to be using Stripe on the back end.
Stripe would integrate. So Samcart actually does all of the. Well, yeah, I guess they probably wouldn't even need that for SaaS product. Yeah, Stripe would probably be good enough for that. Yeah. So that's that. And then the last one I would say is split testing. I think everybody should be split testing, and there's a lot of them. There's there's a whole bunch of different tools. The one that I like is VWO. So Visual Website Optimizer. And I think they were just on your podcast, weren't they?
Yeah. Paris was on the show actually last year sometime, but yeah, I mean, they have a great story. So
Yeah. So VWI, I like those guys. I've been friends with them for years. I actually used to write. I actually should again. I wrote several blog posts for them a couple of years ago. I should actually get back in touch and do another one for them. But yeah, so that's kind of all the tools.
Cool. Okay, great. I mean, we've talked about a lot of stuff here, and as you kind of said, there was some topics that we could have easily just sort of segued into and spent a day talking about. So I appreciate you kind of going through and giving us so much information in such a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. If folks want to get in touch with you or find out more information about what you do, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so I would say, the first thing is, if you guys are podcast listeners, I have a podcast called Sales Funnel Mastery. So, you're probably on your phones, right now or sitting on your computer or something. So just go type that in into your phone or whatever and add that. There's a whole bunch of really good content in there. The second thing is just go to jeremyreeves.com, and it's JeremyReeves as in Victor, ES.com.
Great. So I will include a link to jeremyreeves.com in the show notes and also to your podcast. And if folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I would say either Jeremy at jeremyreeves.com. That's my email address. It's Jeremy, my first name, Jeremy at jeremyreeves.com.
Okay, great. Thanks again for joining me and sharing your experiences and insight. And I wish you all the best.
Yeah, sounds good. It was a pleasure being on here. It was fun.
Yep, same here. Thanks, Jeremy. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye. All right. Thanks for listening. You can get to the show notes for this episode by going to conversionaid.com/111. If you enjoyed this episode, then please do take a minute to leave a review on iTunes. Your reviews really do count. They inspire and motivate me to do better, and they help the show get discovered by more people. If you leave a review, just email me at omer@conversionaid.com, and I'll be happy to give you a shout out on the show if you'd like. Just head over to conversionaid.com/iTunes. Thanks for listening. Until next time, take care.
Thanks for listening to Conversion Aid, the podcast that shows you how to take your business to the next level and create software that sells. But things don't have to end here. Head over to conversionaid.com/VIP and get yourself on the free VIP list, where we share special insider content and news about upcoming episodes. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you next time.